The doorbell rang at exactly 11:58 p.m., slicing through the quiet of James Sullivan's apartment like a blade. He froze mid-sip, the cheap sparkling wine trembling in a half-filled champagne flute. On the muted television, Times Square glowed with color, the giant numbers poised to welcome another year that James had no real expectations for. He wasn't waiting for anyone. He hadn't waited for anyone in years. And yet, something about that sound made his chest tighten, as if life itself had paused and was holding its breath along with him. For a moment, he considered ignoring it. Whoever it was would assume he wasn't home, and things could remain exactly as they were, predictable, quiet, safely lonely. But curiosity has a way of sneaking past fear. James set the glass down and walked toward the door, his socks soft against the worn carpet of an apartment that carried more memories than comfort. This modest two-bedroom had become his refuge after everything fell apart 3 years ago. The divorce, the nights of silence, the ache of joint custody that meant his daughter Lily wasn't with him tonight. She was in Aspen with her mother and her new stepfather, surrounded by warmth and laughter that James imagined but didn't see. He leaned toward the peephole, already bracing himself for disappointment or annoyance, and then his heart nearly stopped. Standing in the hallway was Catherine Chen. Not the Catherine Chen of boardrooms and sharp suits, not the woman whose presence alone could quiet an entire floor at Chin Designs. This Catherine looked almost human, nervous. She held an expensive bottle of champagne, her fingers wrapped around the neck as if anchoring herself. A simple black dress replaced her usual power attire, and for the first time since James had known her, she looked unsure. He opened the door before his mind could catch up to his body. The contrast between her elegance and his faded t-shirt and sweatpants hit him immediately, but Catherine didn't seem to notice. She smiled, tentative but real, and the sight of it stirred something long dormant in James. She apologized for the interruption, her voice softer than he'd ever heard, and he realized she was waiting for permission. Not as a CEO, but as a woman standing on unfamiliar ground. Inside, the apartment felt smaller with her presence. But warmer too. They stood near the doorway, two people who shared a professional history, but suddenly felt like strangers learning each other for the first time. She explained, honestly and without drama, that she didn't want to be alone tonight, and she didn't think he should be either. The words landed between them, simple and raw, and James felt something shift inside his chest. He'd spent years convincing himself that solitude was safer, that expectations only led to disappointment. But here was Catherine Chen, untouchable in his mind, quietly admitting her loneliness. As midnight approached, the line between past and future blurred. They toasted together, the muted television flashing celebration while something more intimate unfolded in that small living room. Stories replaced silence. Laughter softened old scars. James spoke about the life he rebuilt, piece by piece after his marriage ended, about learning to cook for Lily, about choosing patience over bitterness. Catherine spoke of ambition and the cost it demanded, of marriages that crumbled under the weight of her drive, of choosing work because it asked less of her heart. Hours passed unnoticed. When dawn crept in through the windows, neither of them wanted to name what the night had become. It wasn't romance in the traditional sense. Not yet. It was recognition. Two souls who had built walls, finding unexpected comfort in shared cracks. When Catherine finally left, her kiss brushed his cheek, gentle and lingering, and James watched her walk away with the strange certainty that something important had begun, something fragile and real. The days that followed tested that certainty. At work, Catherine resumed her composed authority, and James wondered if he had imagined the connection entirely. But when she called him into her office days later, the truth emerged with clarity and care. She acknowledged the complexity, the power imbalance, the risks, and then she did something James hadn't expected from anyone in his life before. She chose intention. She created space, boundaries, and possibility, not out of impulse, but respect. Their relationship unfolded slowly, deliberately. Not a whirlwind, but a steady build rooted in trust. Catherine learned what it meant to share space with a child when she met Lily, and James watched in awe as the woman who commanded boardrooms knelt on zoo pathways to examine insects with genuine wonder. Lily saw through Catherine immediately, asking the questions that mattered most, and found honesty waiting on the other side. Love didn't erase their challenges. Catherine's demanding schedule and James's insecurities sometimes collided. There were moments when the differences in their worlds felt heavy. But love, real love, wasn't about perfection. It was about compromise without resentment, about choosing each other, even when it was inconvenient. When Catherine was offered the opportunity in Singapore, the future trembled again. This time, though, James didn't freeze. He chose love without possession, encouragement without fear, and Catherine surprised herself by choosing balance over ambition alone. It was the first time either of them realized that love didn't require surrender. It invited growth. A year later, James stood in the same apartment where loneliness once echoed, now filled with light, photographs, and Lily's laughter. He knelt with his grandmother's ring and asked Catherine to share a life that already felt intertwined. She said yes through tears that spoke of relief, courage, and joy. Another year passed, and the door that once separated solitude from possibility now opened onto a home filled with friends, family, and warmth. As midnight approached again, James and Catherine stood together, not as two lonely people seeking comfort, but as partners who had built something lasting from broken beginnings. Looking out over the city lights, Catherine admitted she no longer made wishes. She didn't need to. James understood. Life hadn't changed because of grand plans or perfect timing. It changed because someone knocked, and someone else found the courage to open the door. As the new year arrived, their kiss wasn't just tradition. It was a reminder that hope often arrives quietly, disguised as interruption. That redemption doesn't always come with fireworks, but sometimes with a single, unexpected moment that asks you to choose differently. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt alone at the edge of a new year, remember this. It's never too late for a new beginning. Sometimes all it takes is answering the door. If you felt that message in your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us why hope is always worth holding on to.